2015, an elite DFS Army Commando unit formed to bring high-level DFS strategy to the masses. Today, hated by DFS sharks and lineup sellers alike, they continue their quest to turn Joe into DFS pros.
Alright, welcome to the Taco Tuesday PGA DFS podcast, presented to you by DFSArmy.com. Be sure to come check us out using the link in the description and check out all of our PGA content, along with every other daily fantasy sport there is. We cover it all, and that all comes with a subscription. It's not just a subscription to golf. You get the entire package with it. Our NBA content is amazing. NASCAR's been fun, and MLB is right around the corner. And if you sign up today with promo code TACO, you get a 10% lifetime discount, which is pretty great. And make sure to check out our Slack channel where you can talk one-on-one with the coaches at any time. We'll give you all the advice and information you need to dominate in DFS, whatever sport you choose. Remember, DFSArmy.com, promo code TACO. Onto the podcast. We've got a lot of eyes on golf right now because of one Tiger Woods almost had enough magic last week. Hit a miraculous 40-yard putt. Or I think it was a 40-foot putt, but just absolutely amazing putt on 17. I thought he was going to birdie 18 for sure and force a playoff, but for the second week in a row, we have a winner that's usually someone that doesn't win or hasn't won in a while. Mr. Paul Casey coming through for me. You know we love Paul Casey around here, so this is a very good victory for us last week. I know we weren't all on Tiger outside of FanDuel, where he was extremely cheap. But it's good to see Paul Casey come up with that victory finally. I think both him and Phil hadn't won in like 5 years, since like 2013. So these are some really nice victories. And shoot, if this trend's going to continue, I swear Charles Howell III is going to win this week. Or maybe one of those other guys that are always the bridesmaids but never a bride, always in the playoff but never wins. But we'll see about that, because we have a very important large cat in the field who's the odds-on favorite and may or may not have won this tournament a few times before, if not a lot of times before. I'm talking Tiger Woods. Tiger is going to be the name of the game this week. He is going to be easily the most owned golfer, especially in the lower dollar tournaments. He's going to have ownership that might push 40-50%, because he has $10,000 on DraftKings, and he has won this tournament 8 times, including the last 2 times he's set foot here. And all eyes were on Tiger last week. You know, almost had the Tiger magic. Had several shots throughout the week where, you know, he would just miss the green or come a bit short on a par 5, and his chipping was just magnificent. He had so many close holeouts, and even did hole out once on the final, I think it was the final round, the back 9, he had a holdout, and a few other times he put it like a foot away. I mean, his scrambling is just terrific right now. And I'll talk about him a little bit more when we go down through the players, but really this slate is just all about Tiger Woods. They've priced him up on FanDuel finally, but DraftKings has a very generous price for him. And right now, these aren't the real odds, obviously. These are inflated because of public money. But right now, Tiger Woods is a 5-1 or 6-1 favorite, depending on what books you're looking at. It's insane. I don't know if Tiger is back 100%, but it seems like Tiger is back. And we've always got to speculate about what his DraftKings price would have been like in his prime, like $13,000, $14,000, $15,000. Hopefully, if we're lucky, we get to see Tiger Woods coming back into form. I don't know about, prime Tiger coming back, 'cause he's well past his 40s now, but it would be awesome to see Tiger back winning tournaments, and he's almost there. I swore, if it wasn't for Casey having the tournament that he pretty much never has, It's him and Patrick Reed in a playoff there. And man, I'm just really excited for Tiger Woods to be back. I mean, all eyes are on him. I know that the coverage is almost completely like 100% Tiger last week, but man, it's hard not to just get on the hype train with Tiger. Everybody is going to be experiencing, like they use this term with Bitcoin, but there's a term called FOMO, or fear of missing out. Everybody is going to just run to Tiger, because if they didn't have him last week, and believe me, not many people had him last week, he was like 6 or 7% owned, but everyone that missed out last week has to have him for this week, because it's Bay Hill. It's like his best course. Maybe, there are a couple of courses where he just dominates and wins every time. For Torrey Pines, for example, and he finished T24 or T23 at the Farmers Insurance Open earlier this year. At his arguably his best course. I think he's won both of them 8 times. And this is his first time playing this event since Arnold Palmer's passed. You know that they are very close friends and known each other for years and years and years. So it's an important event for him, and there's a reduced field this year. This week, in general, this is a reduced field since it's an invitational. You'll have 120 golfers in the field compared to your average 140, 145 or so golfers. So more guys will make the cut this week than usual. The Tiger Woods fade, it would be a lot nicer if it was in a bigger field for sure. But we'll be talking about the Tiger fade, or potentially playing Tiger. It's really all up to your personal preferences. If you absolutely can't miss out on Tiger, just know he's going to be incredibly chalky, so crazy chalky, and that kind of makes all of the other plays in this range like really good pivots. To me, it just screams don't play Tiger Woods, but it's like Tiger Woods. There are no numbers. The numbers for him don't look very good altogether, although we've seen his driving accuracy creep up from like 35% up to about 52% now, just because he started off the year so bad. And last week he got the driver taken out of his hands a few times, but I mean, he still busted the driver out and looked really good. He looks like he is finally knows how to aim his driver in the right direction. Maybe not entirely sure. We'll have to see this week. But talking about the course real quick, it's a harder course. Bottom 10 last year in scoring, averages about a stroke over par compared to your average course on tour. Your average course will average just a bit under par. So with the average score here being 0.8 strokes over par, 0.9 strokes over par, it makes it about a stroke harder than most other courses. And it's a par 72, which usually just in general are easier because you have your par 5s, but it is a tougher course and is one of the hardest par 72s on tour. At least it was last year. It played a little bit easier in 2016, but last year it was pretty tough. Your average driving distance is going to be around 290, which is pretty high, and the fairways are wide, and they get wider the longer you hit it. About 34 yards wide on average, which is pretty generous. But water does come into play in a lot of these holes. I think 9 or 10 of these holes have water directly in play, so it kind of reminds you of PGA National there. But it's a little bit less. I mean, it's more of like a risk-reward type water than just like island greens. I mean, there are some holes like that, but usually you can play them fairly safely. The double bogey and triple bogey numbers here are actually pretty low despite all of the water. We're gonna see a lot of pars and bogeys and eagles. These numbers come in just more than you have more than your average share of eagles, pars, and bogeys. Less birdies, and especially less doubles and triple bogeys at this course than your average event. So that's kind of the name of the game, and it makes sense. There are 4 par 5s on this par 72 course, and they are pretty long. There's only one that's like really easy, but they're very long. They make up for the 7,400 yard beast that this course is. And similar to last week, we've got these really large greens. They're not like the largest greens on the PGA Tour like last week at 7,500 square foot. but these are 6,500 square foot, and they're up there as far as the PGA Tour goes. The stimp meter will be a little bit faster this week on the Bermuda greens. Last week we had really slow greens. It kind of took a few of the golfers by surprise. Like, they were very slow. And this week, with Bermuda greens, with the stimp meter of about 12, I mean, that's about average. That's pretty much your typical greens for the PGA Tour. I know the putting numbers came in about average, so we have seen good putters do well here, and good putting correlate with success here. But really, the king statistic here is going to be strokes gained approach, as always, but especially more so this week. Having a good approach game, just good ball striking in general, is going to help a lot. You do have to be kind of longer off the tee. I'm not specifically targeting distance, because we have seen a lot of your accuracy type guys like Francesco Molinari have a lot of success here. Like Henrik Stenson has had tons of success here. These aren't the longest guys off of the tee, but we don't really see any trends of distance or accuracy giving you more of an advantage than just strokes gained off the tee overall. But you do need a little bit of distance. You don't want to be crazy short with it being a 7,400 yard course overall. But like I had said, guys that don't mind hitting the ball short, like Stenson, they've had tons of success here, but definitely not enough to the point where I'd call it an accuracy course. And last stat I really have for you guys is the easy par 5 that I talked about. The hole 16 par 5 is actually one of the easiest holes on the entire PGA Tour, like any hole. So guys are going to be scoring there significantly. The other three, that's where you really want to make up a lot of your strokes. We are looking at fantasy points scored, par 5 averages, just because in general that's where you're going to get some of your eagles and higher scoring plays for GPP. So last week we focused more on the par 3s and definitely less on the par 4s. Well, there are a normal amount of par 4s in this course. We're looking at that about average, but of course with it being a par 72, with 4 par 5s, that's huge for fantasy scoring. So those par 5 numbers are going to be very, very important to keep an eye on this week. And there's also a lot of sand on this course to go with the water. So we're looking at sand saves, or sand save percentage, a little bit. Not like a huge amount, but just a little bit. And we're also looking at how guys play in Florida in general, because usually it seems like guys who play well in Florida kind of always play well in Florida. Like all of these courses, the Honda, Valspar, Arnold Palmer, Sawgrass. But I'm mostly focusing on no-nonsense stats this week. Strokes gained approach, recent form, just cut making in general, and of course fantasy scoring statistics and all that. And course history does seem to be somewhat important here. You've got several guys that do very well here, although it might be boosted a little bit just by the fact that this is a smaller field. Most guys are going to look a little bit better in course history than at other kinds of fields. But there are some guys that are clear course horses here, just very clear course horses. Not a crazy amount, not like Deer Run or anything like that, but still enough to make course history a little bit important. It is a pretty special event with the Pro-Am and all that. So just diving right into the player list here, our studs for the week would be, outside of Tiger Woods at 10K, of course, you've got Jason Day, Justin Rose, Rory McIlroy, Ricky Fowler, the return of Hideki Matsuyama, and after that you've got just a few European guys, Fleetwood, Noren Stenson, Hatton. So those are pretty much the studs of the field. Jason Day obviously has been in really good form here this season, finishing no worse than second in his 2 events that he's played. We haven't seen him in about a month. He's been chilling, but he won this event in 2016 and should be the odds-on favorite, but he's nice, 12-1. Thank you, Tiger. So Jason Day is 11,800 on DraftKings, 12,500 on FanDuel. Last week we saw Jordan Spieth as the most expensive guy, and he just got absolutely train wrecked. Just destroyed his life. And at a course like this where it's hard and you've got lots of water, really you can leave most of the studs kind of alone, honestly, especially with Tiger's looming presence. But if you're fading him too, I mean, you can really either just pick and choose your options up here or just kind of avoid it altogether. Not like completely fade all of these studs, but you really don't need to go there this week. And 11.8 for Day, 11.5 for Rose, that's really expensive on DraftKings. And so I think the 9-8K range is going to get a lot of love. And, you know, the lower 7K range in this field is just filthy, loaded with value. And you're probably going to want to end up paying for at least one of these guys. I know you're going to want to have Tiger, a lot of Tiger there, but if you're not going the Tiger route, then you could definitely afford a Rose or a Rory if he feels so inclined. It's just, you know, with more guys making the cut in this event, and with how the studs here, like there are no obvious super studs like a DJ up here that you know you can pay for very safely, or even like a John Rahm. You know, with Day, Rose, Rory, Ricky, we don't really know what we're going to get here. There's no clear favorite. It would be Day, but you know, I always like to talk about just the odds to pricing with the very top guys. You know, 12-1 odds is pretty ridiculous for someone almost 12K. But you know, the odds, or his odds really should be somewhere around like 8-10-1. But Tiger Woods has just pushed everyone up a good amount, and I don't know how. I'm still not sure how legitimate it is. I don't know if I'm being dumb for just not having the Tiger Woods fervor here, but as far as game theory goes, I mean, it just makes so much sense to not use Tiger Woods and let him wreck 30-40% of the field. But yeah, it's hard for me to find who I really like in this range outside of him. I think I'm just going to be smashing the mid-range. You're just taking random shots at these guys, because Ricky he's been in bad form. Rory McIlroy, he's been in really bad form. Justin Rose, statistically, is not looking that great, although, you know, he has a great sand save percentage, which is nice here. But, you know, the guy that stands out as far as fantasy scoring goes, it really is Jason Day. It's just his price is crazy at 11.8 in this field. I don't like it, but, you know, there's no JT, at least. There's no DJ or Rahm. So Day, I guess, would probably be the way that I would go. I would pay up for him, and I don't think he's going to be crazy expensive, even though his game log couldn't possibly look any better. Yeah, you know, people haven't seen him in a month, and you know, with so many guys going to Woods, it's just going to leave. It's going to leave guys like Day, Rose, Rory just all underexposed to where they probably should be. You know, it's just the guys that just so happen to show up here, I'm not super thrilled about. I know, all right, Rose is 11,500, 12-2 on FanDuel. I probably should like him a little bit more than I do. His course history here is really good. Fantasy scoring numbers, you know, we were running them kind of long-termish here, going back about a year and a half, and really Justin Rose doesn't get much fantasy scoring, you know, compared to like Day or Rory or Ricky straight up. The only thing that really sticks out is his par 4 scoring is just not good at all compared to, you know, the other guys in this range. And his par 5 numbers also are just lacking compared to the guys around him. Now, he does have a great course history here and all. It's just 11,500 or 12-2 on FanDuel for a guy with 14-1 odds currently. I can't even consider paying that much for Rose. It's pretty crazy. He did well last week and all. I don't know. I know he's been really, really hot, but statistically, he's just been okay, really. You know, losing strokes on approach actually, just barely, and off the tee. Just scrambling pretty well. Putting okay, which is surprising for Rose. But that might have led to a lot of his recent success. I don't know. I don't see that top 3 finish out of Rose you're probably going to need paying this much for him. And then there's Rory McIlroy, 10-7 on DraftKings, 11,500 on FanDuel. It's a good price for him. His form has been really bad. like really bad. He can't putt at all whatsoever. Just awful putting right now. But he smashed this event in the 3 years that he's played it. 4th last year. Made the cut every other time and has done pretty well. He, I don't know, he's just kind of the same old play that he's been the last few weeks, because no one's going to really own him at all. We've seen single-digit ownership for him, which is almost going to be certainly lower now. But as far as fantasy scoring goes, he craps on Justin Rose. His par 5 scoring averages are just insane. He's right on par with Day. Well, he's significantly under par, I'll tell you that, on these par 5s. And he also does well on the par 4s, just struggles on par 3s, and really putting is what ruins his game. He gains a lot of strokes off the tee compared to a more inaccurate guy in Day. His driving accuracy has been okay to go along with his distance. But his greens irregulation numbers have been just tragic this year, just really bad, so far at least. 18-1 for Rory. That's a pretty tempting bet to make, but I don't know if I'd play him on DraftKings a whole lot, a little bit, in GPP, but I wouldn't make him a core play by any means. That's what I'm thinking about all of these guys, really. It's why I keep going to Day, or just even to Tiger. Everything's just begging you to play Tiger. You got Ricky Fowler at 10,300, 11,800 on FanDuel. His history isn't as great here, 12th last year, but missed the cut in 2014, along with Rose. And he didn't miss the cut last time he was out at Mexico, but he finished in the bottom half of the field, which is pretty much like a miscut, to be honest. T37, him and Rose finished T37 at Mexico. That's not good in my books. And then he missed the cut by multiple strokes at the Honda Classic. Missed it by multiple strokes again at the Farmers. The T11 at the Waste Management is really the only good part of his season so far. He crushed the swing season, but the regular season's come around and he has looked pretty bad. 10,300 is still a decent price for him. Statistically he's great with greens and greens regulation, hitting the sand or getting out of the sand and all that. His putting has just been nightmarish, losing a stroke per round compared to everyone else in this range. He is by far the worst putter so far. And usually Ricky's a very good putter. So since putting can turn itself around really quickly, it may make Ricky a bit of a target this week, honestly, if that's the hole in his game, and it's something that historically he's done pretty well. You never know when he's going to start putting well again, and yeah, Ricky could be that guy. Definitely has a top 5 shot. About the same odds as Rory for $400 cheaper. Solid play, I'd say, but his form is just really, really too shaky for me. And doesn't hit the ball nearly as long as Rory, Justin, and Jason Day here, and even as Tiger. I don't know what's happened to his driving distance. It's just gone down a lot. I think he's been headed to a lot of lesson driver courses so far, but he just doesn't have that insane distance like the Rory and the Jason Days of the world do here. So I don't mind the play. It's just okay. Then you get to Tiger Woods, the chalk, 6-1. He wins this tournament more than he does anything else at this tournament. That's for sure. 8 wins. Most recently, in 2013, 2012, we saw him win here. Obviously, he hasn't been around the last 4 years. Just making his return to tour. T12 at Honda, and then, of course, that runner-up finish from last week. I mean, it's amazing stuff. I love it, Tiger. As far as overall play goes, it's just I can't even come close to justifying Tiger Woods at 40% ownership possibly. I just can't even comprehend that. He's not going to have the driver taken out of his hands nearly as much this week. He'll have some very tempting wide fairways that he can hit, but he could also get into trouble if he's too aggressive with these greens. His approach game, he's just barely losing some strokes to the field in approach. He's really getting a lot of his work done on the greens and scrambling. So, statistically it just doesn't look, it looks like kind of a trap play ultimately, but then again there's that other part of me that just feels like, man, it's Tiger Woods, and he's not like 15,000. What are you doing? Why aren't you playing him? It's Bay Hill. Come on, it's Bay Hill. It's Tiger Woods. It's Bay Hill. Coming off a T2 finish. Come on. That's what everyone's going to be thinking this week, but I don't know. Man, I wish I liked the pivots around here more, honestly. But, you know, I'm really going to be all about this $9,000 range, to be honest. And let's get into it here. You've got a really shaky guy in Hideki Matsuyama, $9,700. You can't really play him a whole lot this week. He's withdrawn from the last 2 tournaments that he has entered. Withdrew from the WGC Mexico, and then also from the Waste Management Phoenix Open, where he was the defending champ. He withdrew mid-round with a wrist injury. He says he's all right to go, but it's going to be really shaky with Matsuyama here. You know, his driving accuracy has been quite abysmal this year so far, but we haven't seen much of him, really. That one round from the Waste Management, and then all the Farmers Open. And he did well at the Farmers Open, finished T12. It's just, you know, we don't know what to make of that injury. We'll have to check on him throughout the week. We've got a guy in the Slack chat that'll be playing in the Pro-Am, actually. I told him to take a look out for Hideki this week. Tell me how that wrist's feeling. So we'll know more as we go in through the week. And just one more thing about Matsuyama here is that he's usually great when it comes to saving himself out of the sand, but so far this year at least, he has a pretty bad 40% sand save percentage. Probably just lack of data there, but something to be concerned about. And also with Tiger Woods, forgot to mention this Tiger. Last week, he was like almost dead last in the field when it came to sand saves. I know his scrambling game has been amazing, and really, you shouldn't ever talk ill about Tiger's short game, ever. It's just, you know, so far this year, we've seen him also have a poor sand save percentage, and there are tons of deep bunkers on this course, so you kind of got to watch out for that. So getting into the juicy range here, $9,500, $11,700 on FanDuel. It's funny how FanDuel has kind of flipped around and are now overpricing some of the guys that they were underpricing before, like Tiger Woods and the European guys. And they also standardized their names with DraftKings now. They changed all the names of their players on FanDuel to match the ones on DraftKings. So a quick rest in peace to the threes. No more Varner III, no more Charles Howell III. These guys are all, their threes are gone. No more threes for us. And it'll be interesting to see if FanDuel will even keep some of the just straight up like misspellings they have on guys from FanDuel, especially some of those European players. If you ever come across like the Open Championships and you've got like one of those guys from the European Tour in there that DraftKings' database has set as like a straight up typo, like they do for a few of these guys, believe me. Some of the guys, they put like 2 spaces in between the guy's name and last name. You know, I have to go through these guys' names all the time. I know these sort of things, and it's going to be funny to see if FanDuel just straight up copies like misspellings, or if they'll just end up deciding on like a standardized name set. I wish they would, you know, match their names to the PGA Tour's names, but even the PGA Tour doesn't know what half the guys' names are. They like to change them for no reason. They added like maybe it's just the player requesting or whatever, but they just really royally screwed up Fabian Gomez's name, like just over the off season this last year. Added all the accent marks and everything, and it's looked so bad. You know, messed up a whole lot of things. They just love to be a thorn in my side, adding the comma and Ted Potter Jr.'s names, etc., stuff like that. But it's good to see FanDuel and DraftKings finally being on the same page. Makes my life a little bit easier, but a little too late for that. I wish they would have done that just from the get-go. But yeah, anyway, going back into Tommy Fleetwood here, he's kind of an odds value here, 20-1 compared to Matsuyama's 24-1. But Matsuyama's just kind of a play that no one's going to make this week. Fleetwood has looked excellent since arriving overseas. He'll be a pretty comparable play to Noren because he finished T14 along with Noren last week, and then, or last time out, the WGC Mexico event, and at the Honda Classic they finished 4th and 3rd together. They're both big European names. They're both around the same price. They're going to be very, very comparable plays this week. Fleetwood is a boss, like straight up. I know that Noren's green and regulation numbers are better, but historically Fleetwood has just been a green and regulation god, especially overseas. And he is just putting insane. at the WGC Mexico event. He wasn't really in it until the very end, but his statistics have been lights out, outside of like, you know, strokes gained off the tee. His approach and around the green numbers have been great, along with his putting, of course. Same goes for Noren. That's why these guys are super similar. Really, the same thing could be said for Noren, except only difference with him is his approach game is not too hot, and he's having amazing results despite that. Noren's 9,200, 11,800 on FanDuel, so more expensive on FanDuel than Fleetwood. A super value on DraftKings, honestly, but straight up from the odds, Fleetwood's in a better spot than Noren. A lot of it could be the British books do like to push Fleetwood up a little bit. It's surprised you don't see that with Rose, honestly. But yeah, Noren and Fleetwood, I like them both a lot. The Europeans have done very well here. Fleetwood did better than Noren here last year. They both debuted. Fleetwood finished 10th. Noren just T49. But his price tag on DraftKings is a lot better than Fleetwood, so they both make for pretty similar plays, honestly. They both are very, very good at fantasy points scored on par 5s. Fleetwood's best in the entire field, and Noren's second overall in par 5 scoring. Fantasy scoring on par 5s. So these guys just are in a perfect spot when it comes to par 5 scoring. With those 4 par 5s on here and one of the easiest par 5s in the entire PGA Tour. So these are going to be some big values here. And then, man, $9,100, the guy that burned us hard last week, one Henrik Stenson. No one's going to play him now. This is another course that his history is just absolutely amazing at. But he had already burned us last year. He did something very similar to what he did the Valspar. Just had a string of top 10 finishes just like Valspar. And last year he missed the cut by multiple strokes. Last week at the Valspar he missed the cut by like 3 strokes. Finished 107th. Did not look good at all. Could not hit a green in regulation to save his life. I know his driving average, or his driving accuracy averages were good as always, but he could not hit the green. His approach game, and especially his scrambling game, is just in the garbage can right now, and really only made up anything by putting. He was an alright putter, but man, it's hard to use Stenson. I'm a big Stenson fan. I wanted to use him here in one and done. I might have to wait till Sawgrass and play one of these other course horses here, probably like a Grillo or something, but man, had so many high hopes for Stenson. I always like to use Stenson and Berger here because that combination, I kind of went, like years ago, I was all over both Stenson and Berger here, and they both were just absolutely won me a ton of money early on in my PGA DFS golf career. And yeah, those I always like to pay them. I like to pay tribute to guys that won me a lot of money at a certain tournament, and you know, Stenson has done that for me here in the years past. I mean, last week he burned me, and the last year he burned me. But with Stenson, you know, he used to be that super safe guy with like the 90-some% made cut percentage, but now looking back long term, he's got a 75% made cut percentage. It's not great, and really he's had that one amazing performance at the British Open. Other than that, he's been really hard to roster. I don't know what to make of it. His history at this course is unbelievable. You know, 4 straight top 10s before last year, and then a T15 finish the year before those top 10 streaks started. I mean, just amazing course history. But he kind of Webb Simpsoned us, and he might Webb Simpson us again, if you know what I mean. So I'm not gonna be as on Stenson. I was definitely less Stenson than last week, that's for sure. But like considerably less Stenson. Just going to use a handful of him until I can tell that he's like in all right form. And then a very nice play here, Tyrrell Hatton, $9,000, $10,600 on FanDuel, which is a pretty good price as well there. He finished 4th place in this event last year. This was one of his coming out events, and at the WGC Mexico event, he finished 3rd. Very, very good performance from him. Destroyed the greens in regulation. I know at the Honda Classic he missed the cut, but he missed the cut by 1 measly stroke. His first event in America in several months. I mean, that's not that bad. He was tearing up Europe before then, just absolutely tearing up Europe. Every event like a top 20 for him. Going to a course that he's had success at, at the WGC Mexico event, he had success there, and had success instantly the following year. Last week or 2 weeks ago. Could the same thing happen here? He made his debut, finished T4 this event last year. Very similar to how in Mexico his debut was second place finish. I don't know. His odds compared to his pricing, very good. Better than Stenson's and Noren's. Not quite as good as Fleetwood's. 24-1, still really respectable. Again, that might also be pushed up a little bit by British books because he's a British guy. But still, his true odds are probably somewhere around like 26, 27-1. And it's better than Stenson, better than Noren, right around Noren, for $200 cheaper. Has hit greens in regulation in a very high mark. Always performs well in Florida events. Scrambling has been awesome, and has actually gained a lot of strokes off the tee, even though he's shorter off of the tee. Well, not short. He's 300 yards off of the tee, but he's not like an insane bomber like some of these guys averaging 310, 320. But 300 yards off the tee, I guess it's not shabby. He's a young guy, very talented young golfer, getting ready for Augusta. Definitely wants to make up for his showing last year. So Hatton is someone I'm going to have a pretty good amount of. GPP only still, even though the value looks good. Probably still only going to play him in GPP. But he makes for a strong play there. And you've got last week's surprise darling, Patrick Reed, who had been miserable form until last week, finishing T2, 1 stroke off of the lead. His odds are coming in a little bit high compared to the guys around him. So won't be the best value play here. And he's had the one good finish last week, but you can't forget, I know that the one event, the WGC Mexico, finished just right underneath the halfway mark of the field, which would be 35th. He finished T37, and then he missed the cut by 1 stroke at Honda and the Pebble Beach Pro-Am. 1 stroke missed cuts aren't the worst thing in the world. So Reed had no ownership. No one wants to play him after several bad finishes in a row. But he had that. He was completely underpriced for how good he is, and he showed how good he can be. And this week his price is back to normal. 8,900 is about where he should be priced. Maybe a little bit higher than he should be priced actually. So I can't really justify paying that for Patrick Reed, but I can't be too mad at you if you want to go that route. I'm more likely to go $200 cheaper, someone also with 33-1 odds, but a much better course history here. Adam Scott, who has looked really nice over the last few events. 13th at the Honda Classic, T16 at the Valspar last week. Long term, it doesn't get much better than Scott, and it's weird with him because right now his approach game is what's really weak, really weak. Losing more strokes approach than anyone of these top, or anyone $8,000 or more, outside of he's the lowest. He's been losing the most strokes approach of anyone $8,000 or up, which is weird because it's Adam Scott. That's what he does. He's the approach god, but he's been scrambling really so far this year, I guess. But if he plays anything like his old self, he's gonna be hitting these balls very smooth. He's still playing very well. Statistically, it's just shaky, but really everything outside of his approach game is great, and even his putting. So it's the opposite of what Adam Scott usually stands for. So I don't know about cash exactly with Scott, with the shaky approach numbers, but if it weren't for that, I'd be all over Scott here. 8,700 is still really cheap for him. He should be in the $9,000 range, so I like him a lot in GPP. And I also like Bubba Watson. He's $8,600, but he should also probably be priced a little bit higher. Top 10 finishes in his last 2 events, including that win at the Genesis Open. Missed the cut early on the season at the Career Builder, but hasn't missed a cut since in 4 events. really just, he's sort of like Kevin Na, where he just had like a giant slump last year, but has kind of gotten back to playing like normal. But DraftKings is kind of pricing him like a guy that's been bad for a while. Before, Bubba would always be priced at like $9,000, $10,000, like a stud. Same with Adam Scott. They're very similar. They're very similar case studies, just with their DraftKings price. They have, and Scott didn't even have the horrible slump that someone like Bubba Watson had. He really just didn't play for a while and kind of was, just took a very long break and didn't have a win for like half a year, and that was enough to knock him down so much. But Bubba had been at the very, very bottom over the swing season. He couldn't have looked worse, really. It was the second half of last year. Couldn't have looked any worse, but now he's playing like normal, playing really well, and it's still cheap, $8,600, so I don't mind that at all in GPP. Brian Harman has only had one bad finish, a horrible like last place finish at the Farmers, but came fifth in the WGC Mexico event. Pretty much been a top 10 stud all year through the swing season. He's just had that one horrible performance, and that just murdered his ownership percentages. He hasn't been owned much at all since then. $8,500. I know the price is kind of right there for his odds and all, but man, he is nothing but top 10 finishes this year. And the last two times of this event, top 20 finishes. 3 missed cuts before then. 2 of them were on, by 1 stroke, but still, back in 2012, he had another top 15 finish here. But with Harman, that's kind of the name of the game with him, really. He's either going to get a top 15, top 20 finish, or he's going to finish like dead freaking last. You don't know with Harman. He's the ultimate GPP only play. But I do like him. His approach numbers are awesome. He doesn't, I would say it doesn't hit the ball very long off the tee, but he's worked his way up to a 300-yard drive now. It's just his strokes gained off the tee that's not great, which is weird. Usually he gains some strokes off of the tee just with his driving accuracy. But looking at going down a little bit further here, got last year's winner, Mark Leishman, $8,400. The last 2 tournaments he's been in, he has not looked good at all. His approach numbers have fallen off of a cliff, and he was riding his approach game through the swing season late last year. Into constant top 10 finishes, just like Harman, but he had like top 2 finishes and like wins. So he's kind of fallen a long way with the last 3 tournaments, just, barely grazing the top 30. That horrible, like, he missed the cut by like 2 or 3 strokes at the Genesis Open. I don't like where his approach numbers are at right now. He's losing half a stroke approach already. Like, his numbers have fallen that bad, and he started the season off by being one of the best at approach numbers. So very worried about that with him. But he is the defending champ here, and $8,400 is usually pretty darn cheap for Leishman. I just worry about his driving accuracy and his strokes gained approach right now. Those numbers are not looking good, and also his sand save percentage is also really weak, 40%, one of the lowest in the field. Then you turn around, Brandt Snedeker here. I think he leads the field in sand save percentage. If he's not, he's one of the top 5. But that's the only statistic really where it sticks out for him. I guess he's good on par 4s as well, but par 5s he's not scoring much. He's Brandt Snedeker. He's gonna keep the ball in the fairway. He's not gonna hit it very, very long. And usually putts really well, but right now his putting numbers are garbage, losing about half a stroke per round. I don't like that on Brandt Snedeker, because you kind of play Snedeker for the putting. And last week he was like top 5, looking like he might win this thing, and just exploded in the back 9 the final round. Just horrible finish for him. Ended at T31, so you wouldn't have even known, if you're just looking at his recent form, you wouldn't have even known that he was in contention here, because he fell off a cliff. Louis Oosthuizen at $8,200, 10-6 on FanDuel. That's a play I like pretty good right now. He also has he has like putting concerns, which he kind of always does. He's not the greatest putter. Outside of that, he's pretty much above average in every category. Another guy that's good at saving the ball out of the sand. Has been driving a little bit longer than he usually does, and combines that with some accuracy. So good strokes gained off the tee there. His first 3 events so far in America, had a good showing at the Honda and at Valspar, top 25 finishes in those full field events. Then finished like midfield the WGC Mexico event. But again, the WGC Mexico event was like 7,000 feet in the air, way down in Mexico. I don't really like to get too involved in thinking about that tournament, because it's so different than what you have like in Florida, where you're like you're on the coastline, you're like 12 feet above sea level. So Louis Oosthuizen, it's a guy I like a lot. He's done well at this course. 87% mid-cut percentage long term. Those are some of the best numbers in the field. 68% of the time finishes top 30. That is just excellent. That's just excellent from Louis. Luke List, $8,100. He's one of these guys that's just been there constantly. We saw this kind of streak from him last year in like the swing season, where he had just this random like top 20 streak. And right now he's on, I guess you'd say, a top 26 streak. He's finished T26 a few times, but each of his last 5 events played, he's finished top 25. Before that, he was just missing cuts. We saw it last year. We saw Luke List have that amazing streak, and before and after that was just typical Luke List, where he sucks. He's hitting into the trees and stuff and finishing 4 strokes off of the cut line. But he's the longest driver in the field. Hits it 320 yards off the tee. That's his MO, and he can only really score on the par 5s. But this is a great course for that. So he's kind of like a play I'll talk about later in Scott Stallings, where it's like the only thing really going in his direction is his crazy form. Although, well, I guess that's not true. That's not true, because Stallings has horrible course history here. Luke List has played here once last year, and he finished T17, so that's good course history. Really, everything's pointing in the direction of Luke List being a solid GPP play. But he makes an excellent play on FanDuel. There's only $9,200. He sticks out as one of the best plays in the entire field, so play him on FanDuel. And this low $8,000 range, this is just chalk with goodness. Even though if you're just looking at the odds compared to pricing, you're probably not going to play these guys. But hear me out here. You've got $8,000. You got Jason Kokrak, Jamie Lovemark, 2 guys that have been on fire. Kokrak hasn't missed his cut all season. He's played 6 events. 100% of the time he's finished top 50. And in 3 of those events he finished top 20, including his last 2. He finished 8th last week at the Valspar. Kind of under the radar. He was there all week long, just not like leading. And then he was 20th at the Genesis Open, which is a course you wouldn't even think would be that great for him, with him being a super bomber and all, but he did pretty well there. I guess the same could be said about the Valspar, very similar tournament there. And he's just been steady mobbing, honestly. Made the cut here the last 4 times. Not the greatest event last year, but in 2015, 2014, he finished 6th and 4th. And then you've got, same price, Jamie Lovemark, similar story, great course history here. 6th in 2016, 23rd last year. Last 3 events, 16th, 7th, and 26th in full field events. Lovemark was horrible throughout the swing season and stuff. Really turned it around over the last 3 weeks, and just makes for a similar play to Kokrak here. And then you've got Kiradech Effie Barnred, $7,900. A bit of a course horse here. Has played here twice and finished 6th twice. Skipped last year, but he didn't play much on tour last year, to be honest. Last 3 weeks we've seen him just barely make the cut at the Honda Classic and then struggle on the weekend. Then in Mexico we saw him do very well, top 5 almost that entire tournament, ended up finishing 5th. And then last week, instead of playing at the Valspar, he went to the Asian Developmental Tour and just crushed everybody, just spanked them noobs, because he likes to do that. If you look through his game log that includes every tournament he goes to, he loves to go to like the Asian Tour, the Japanese Tour, what have you, and just beat on people. So he likes making that money, baby, and he's gonna make this is a pretty big $7 million purse. I think he's gonna look to make some more gravy here at a course that he's had success at. He's going to be the guy that sticks out as far as odds go. So Affy Barnes Fat might make a might make a lot of rosters here. If you look at his fantasy scoring, he only scores on one hole type. That's your par fives, and that's what this course is all about. You know, the numbers don't show it this year, but historically he is an excellent putter. And really, all you gotta do it here is you bomb it, you putt it, and you go about your way. And that's what Kiradech has done here every year. Every year that he's played. Of course, it's only been 2 years for him, but still, he's looking like, you know, the price is kind of right for him. And the performance at Mexico is really encouraging when looking to this week. You've got Cam Smith, who's still yet to miss a cut. He's still on this like really good streak of finishes ever since he won the Australian PGA. He's just been making the cut and doing all right. Like 46th last week at the Valspar, it's okay, but you know, 6th at the Genesis Open. Real fantasy scoring wise, he doesn't do a whole lot. It does hit a lot of pars, but you know, he's almost a cash game play at this point. He's gaining strokes everywhere off the tee, mostly from approach. I love the approach numbers, but around the green and putting, all of these are big positives for him. So he's one of the safer plays you can make, actually. I think he's pretty legit. And then Jimmy Walker had a sort of like Snedeker. He's looking really good until the end there last week. You never know what you're going to get from Walker, but you can use him. And then $7,700, you're going to hit another little value pocket here. Zach Johnson's going to be popular. Some top 10 finishes here in the last few years he's played at. And it's been awesome so far this year. 3 of his 4 events he's played, he's finished top 20, including the last week at the Valspar. He's made every cut. You know, statistically, he's looking horrible, like stroke scanned approach wise, just really bad. But it doesn't seem to matter with him. He's still putting pretty well, scrambles enough to get by, good driving accuracy and greens regulation, as is standard for him. He's really expensive on FanDuel, $10,200, but $7,700 on DraftKings. That's a really good value there. He's 50-1 compared to Scott Stallings, who's 100-1 at the same price. But I think more people use Scott Stallings. Just looking at the game log, T31, T29, 4th, 7th, T23, and it's all garbage past that. And looking at his course history here, it's also all garbage, like miscut, T48, not good. And Stallings is like, he's like a long-term like super scrub, 55% made cut percentage over his last 66 events. That's horrid. So I'd say he's fool's gold. I would straight up take Zach Johnson over him any day of the week. So that's who I'm going to play over him, obviously, here. Byung-Hung An also is in this range here. I know he missed the cut last week, but he missed it by 1 stroke. It was 5th at the Honda Classic. Hasn't done that great here, but he's made the cut the last few years at least. Something. Excuse me, that was a nice little burp there. And at the $7,600 range, it's all about Emiliano Grillo. He's one of the best plays that you can make this week. Top 10 at the Honda Classic. He's just been excellent, very, very consistent. You know, in his PGA Tour career, he's made 86% of his cuts. That is excellent. He is a great cash game play this week. He's going to be probably the first cash game play that I lock down. I don't know how popular he's going to be, but he really should be popular. His odds to pricing do stick out a lot. Everyone else in this range like 80-1, 90-1. He's 55-1. Course history here couldn't be any. Well, it could be a lot better. I mean, he could just win every year, like Daniel Berger at the St. Jude Classic or something. But still really good. 7th last year, T17. The year before that, $7,600. That price is just insane. Going through the rest of the field really quickly here. Charles Howell III. Hey, if Paul Casey can win, if Paul Casey can win, if Phil Mickelson can win, why not Charles Howell III? His course history here is consistently mediocre. He's made the cut here 10 years in a row. No finish better than T20 though. So it's not like a lot of these other course histories we see from Charles Howell, like from the West Coast swing, where he's like top 10 every year. It's like he's T46 every year. So still makes for cash gameplay, I'd say. Just squeaked through the cut last week, but long-term made cut percentage of 85%, T20 percentage of 44%. That's pretty excellent. $7,500. The price is right there. Lucas Glover has better course history here. 7th last year, T27 the year before. 2014 finished 14th, but did miss the cut in 2015, 2013. 2 of the last 3 events for Lucas, he's missed the cut by just 1 stroke. And 7.5 is an alright price for him on DraftKings. I'm looking at him on FanDuel, where he's $8,300. He projects as our top value play on FanDuel. And he gains a stroke approach per round. Very, very, very good numbers in his approach game right now. So someone to consider on FanDuel for sure. Maybe even on DraftKings, straight up over a guy like Laird Howard or Howell or Scott Piercy. Just someone to consider in this range, although it's hard to get off of Griot, honestly. Moving down to $7,000, the $7,400 or $7,300 range around here. Matthew Fitzpatrick has done well at this event the last 2 years, but missed the cut pretty bad last week. So, he hasn't looked good at all in America, and his fantasy point scoring numbers are just tragically bad. But, overseas, he's a god, so is he going to play like a European guy at this tournament? Or is he going to play like the Fitzpatrick that just always blows it for everybody in America? I don't really know. You've got McGirt and Ollie Schneider-Jans looking all right in that range. McGirt's kind of sneaky. He's actually done all right over the last few weeks. His approach numbers just aren't McGirty enough for me compared to how he usually is. Then Chris Kirk at $7,400 also could be a little sneaky. It might even be a cash gameplay. He's been kind of really consistent, but he did miss the cut by 2 strokes here last year, so I don't really know. Ian Poulter is another interesting name. He's been bad. He's missed the cut his last few events. Missed the cut pretty badly last week, but at this event he's made 7 straight cuts, and he had a streak of 5 straight top 21 finishes. But the last 2 years, T41, T46, the weird thing that just sticks out to me is that his strokes gained approach numbers are just fantastic. He just cannot scramble to save his life. Moving on down to Kevin Chappell and Francesco Molinari in the $7,300 range. These plays are going to be absolutely lit. These guys are going to be very popular, and they'll kind of split the ownership both ways. You got Kevin Chappell, who's been a boss so far this year. No finish worse than T31 in 5 starts. Although last time out at the WGC Mexico event, finishing 30th was just barely above average. But the guy's been hitting it pretty well. Just overall been a really solid player. 308 yards off the tee with 60% driving accuracy. That's a nice little combo there. Hitting a lot of greens. And we know long term with him, approach metrics are just fantastic. When you look at anything long term with Molinari, his driving accuracy and approach are kind of like Stenson-esque. And also in this range, you've got Keegan Bradley, who's made the cut here 5 years in a row, and in 2014, 2013 finished 2nd and 3rd respectively. And outside of a 1-stroke missed cut at the Genesis Open, he's made all of the cuts here. In the 2018 season of the PGA Tour, and that 5th place finish at the Farmers Open was pretty good. And then you've got Charles Schwartzel, who was looking really good last week and fell off of the planet, but that long-term 91% made cut percentage, that's what it's all about with this Schwartzel play here. Made the cut here last year, and has made the cut here each of the 3 times he's played. Just hasn't had any finishes better than top 40, but if you need someone to make the cut, Schwartzel is pretty much going to be that guy most of the time. And he's been putting really, really well so far this season. Then you've got Patton Kizzire, also at $7,300. So $7,300 is going to be an insane price range this week. But Patton Kizzire has won multiple times so far this season. Had that horrible showing at the Honda Classic, but turned it around in Mexico. I know he missed the cut here last year by a few strokes, but Kizzire could be a forgotten man here, and he's definitely going to have some value. You know that he can win. And then a hot name for this week, $7,200 of Sam Burns. Very, very young, fresh green player who has really burst onto the scene here in the last 2 events he's played in Florida. 8th at the Honda Classic and 12th last week at Valspar. At $7,200, he's going to definitely warrant some play. On FanDuel, he's more appropriately priced at $9,000. Again, this is a rookie, a very, very young, fresh player, so we don't want to go too crazy with him. I mean, look at guys like Tyler Gooch, But we've had some really, really good rookies this year. Brandon Harkins, Austin Cook, So Sam Burns, I don't know. I've seen a lot of plays like him that have like 2 or 3 good finishes and then just are never seen or heard from again. Smiley. But yeah, I'm probably gonna prefer. Yeah, if I'm like looking at like cash or something, I'm gonna prefer Ben Martin at the same price, even though his odds are worse for the win. He's made the cut here 3 years in a row with a 12th and 5th place finish. Made every cut so far in the season, 6 for 6. Not as cheap as he was last week, but he's an alright play looking right now. And then you've got Kyle Stanley, who's a really good golfer. $7,200 for Stanley is really cheap. And then you've got Peter Uihlein, who's definitely forgotten about at this point. But he's a Florida guy. Maybe he missed the cut last time in Florida, so maybe that's not the best thing to say about him. But still, I think Uihlein has a lot of upside that we're going to notice. And he's going to really sneak up on guys. I love him for like the Shell Houston event, or he's done well in the past. I think he might make a splash before then even. I got my hopes up for Uihlein. I don't think he's dead yet. You've got 2-time winner, the 2-time Matt Every. His min price on FanDuel, and that might make you think about him a little bit, but he's bad. I know he's made the last 2 cuts, but he made them and then finished like dead last in them. Had missed the 4 cuts before then, like horribly. No, don't play Every. Long-term made cut percentage of 38%. Don't do it. Don't do it. Then at $7,100, you've got another nice little pocket of value. You've got Kevin Na, who's one of the top projected players here. Awesome at this event, just incredibly awesome. And outside of last year where he missed the cut by 1 stroke in the middle of like the coldest streak of his career, you look back at his previous performances: 6th, 14th, 4th, 30th, 2nd in 2010. That was a little while ago, but still, the guy just crushes this course. His last few finishes on tour, I know he withdrew last week, but I'll get to that in a second. His last few finishes, at the Genesis, he finished runner-up. Pebble Beach, 20th. He's made every cut this year, outside of the very first event of this season, the Sony Open, in which he missed the cut by T107. I'll probably say like 3 strokes, 2 or 3 strokes for him. But still, Kevin Na, $7,100, $8,900 on FanDuel. That's underpriced on both sites for him. Now, he did withdraw last week with a neck issue, and that's something to be concerned about. Definitely inquisitive about his status this week, but it looks like all systems are a go, and he was just being really cautious last week. Don't have crazy Kevin Na exposure, because he is a little bit of a withdrawal risk this week, but other than that, he looks like a slam dunk play. And then you've got super cheap Kevin Kisner. The Kevins are just getting no love. There are 3 Kevins at $7,100 that should be priced a lot higher. The Kevins got no love this week. Even Kevin Chway, I know he sucks, but he got no love either. Kevin Kisner, runner-up here last year, mind you. I know that he missed the cut pretty badly in the 2 events leading into the WGC Mexico event. 106th at the Honda Classic, 103rd at Pebble Beach. Last week he did finish in the top half of the field at Mexico, so that's good enough for me, honestly. I'll get back on Kisner. $7,100 for Kisner? Are you kidding me? I'll take that all day. 60-1 odds, surrounded by guys who are like 100 to 200-1. Like, yeah. Him and Na have the same odds, so both of the Kevins are kind of inexchangeable here, even the other Kevin. And I'll talk about the other Kevin real quick. Kevin Streelman. Let's get the three Kevins together. Let's not come up with any acronyms or anything, but the Kevin squad is looking good. Now, this Kevin missed his first cut in a long while. Streelman. He had made the first 5 cuts of the year, and then last week he missed the cut by 2 strokes at an event that you'd figured he'd do really well at. His course history there wasn't the greatest, and here his course history is kind of abysmal. 3 missed cuts in a row. Eek. He actually made the cut 2 of the last 3 years here, but he finished like dead last. T70, T67. Ugh. So really bad course history here, and missed the cut last week. But still, Streelman is a guy who's been an insane cut maker over the last year, and outside of last week, he was on just an insane run of making cuts and finishing top 30 almost all the time. So you could definitely use some Streelman. And then also in this range, you've got Austin Cook, who outside that horrible finish at the Pebble Beach has been awesome so far to his rookie career. Then Charlie Hoffman, who had made, he's another guy who made like 1 billion cuts in a row, then finally gave it up last week at the Valspar, a place where he's never had success at, to be honest. And he's another guy, just like Kevin Kisner, runner-up last year. Hasn't done anything out at this course. Hadn't even played at this course for a long time, but when Augusta's coming, the Texas swing's coming, you want to get your Charlie Hoffman rolling. And the last 2 or 3 years that we've been in this position, Hoffman has come in horrid form, awful form. Like last year, he couldn't have been in any worse form coming into this year, but he's been in awesome form outside of last week. The whole past half a year or so, he's maintained his excellent form. Going into the Augusta, it's a little scary because he's so baller at both the Texas swing and at Augusta, so he's going to be someone to definitely watch out for. So yeah, that's the $7,100 range. You've even got a few other interesting names like a Hadley. If you like pain, you can go there, or a Vaughn Taylor, although he withdrew last week. Then when you get into the $7,000 and lower range, it's pretty scary. I don't know why in the world Smiley Kaufman is $7,000 and not like $5,000, because he hasn't had a finish better than T121 the last 5 events for him. He's just been horrid. And then you've got the best Danny Lee impersonator, Donnie Lee. He's 1,400 to 1. He's probably gonna finish like plus 20 something. I tried looking him up. I have no idea why Donnie Lee is in this field. He has 1 event ever, and that is a missed cut in the web.com tour. That's it. I don't know how he qualified for this event. I don't know, but maybe he appeased the ghost of Arnold Palmer or something, but for some reason he's in this event, and he's making the small field even smaller because he stands no chance. There are a few guys like that where they stand no chance. Then, under $7,000, there's a little bit of value to be had here. Brandon Harkins is $6,900. He missed the cut by 1 stroke last week. And he only has 2 missed cuts so far this year, and the missed cut at the Waste Management Open, that was also by a measly 1 stroke. He's been solid outside of that, and definitely someone I could see myself getting back into. And then Hudson Swafford, I know he was on a roll for a little while and has really been coasting. Has last 3 performances for him, really the last 2 months for him, he either hasn't played or it's just either barely made the cut and sucked or just missed the cut. But this is a course where Swafford's had success, 10th last year and 11th in 2015. He hits the ball pretty long off the tee, but it's his driving accuracy that's really surprising for me this year. He's losing all of his strokes approach, and that's worrisome, but his driver couldn't look any better with some insane accuracy and distance. Then you've got Hao Tong Lee at $6,900. I think that's way too cheap, even though he really sucked at the WGC Mexico event. And then going down to $6,800, Siwoo Kim is kind of interesting. He's not in horrible withdrawal all the time, missed the cut form anymore. I think he's way past his injury. He's just been kind of chilling and has made 5 of his 6 cuts so far in the season. That's kind of impressive. And really, if you think about Siwoo, if you try to think about Siwoo from before his injury, he was a consistent player. So, yeah, I could get back on Siwoo a little bit here. No one's going to play him. Then you've got Billy Horschel, who has a few top 20 finishes this event here over the last few years, but his form couldn't be any worse right now. I'm waiting to see what happens to Billy Horschel. This is a guy who's constantly $8,000-$9,000 all the time. You know, a top-tier golfer, a former champion in the PGA Tour. I don't know what happened to Horschel. Statistically, it looks like his approach game is still there. It's just, he might be the worst in the entire field in sand save percentage, and his putting and his scrambling also are just not very good. But man, with an approach game like that, you figure he'd be doing at least okay, but nope. I guess when you miss the cut, you only get 2 rounds worth of data to look at, and maybe that's helped him out a little bit, because he's been missing cuts. He's missed 4 in a row. And then if you want to go to the very, very bottom and take some shots, there really isn't anyone for you this week at dead minimum. Maybe Tom Hoge, even though he's missed the cut in 4 of his last 5 events. Ugh. I know I like him statistically usually, but that's kind of scary. You could do the full Kevin stack, I guess, and go with Kevin Choi, but really the appeal of Kevin Choi is his made cut percentage, and that's fallen off. He's missed the last 3 cuts, so the wheels are off for him. Maybe play him in Texas at home here in a little bit, but I don't know about him. And yeah, there's really no one else that you can play. Everyone else is really, really bad. Like, don't touch Billy Hurley. God, he's so bad at this course. He's a guy that's won recently. His odds are like 800 to 1. That's crazy. But yeah, that's gonna have to do it for me here. It's gonna be an excellent event, good one to watch. Definitely stay tuned. I'm prepared for some Tiger magic. I'm ready to just not win any money and watch Tiger win this thing, and I'll be perfectly content with that, honestly. So that'll do it for me. Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna lead you guys on. I'll play a little bit of Tiger, a little bit of Tiger, but I'm gonna be underweight to the fields. Just throwing that out there. We'll play a little bit of him because I believe in that magic. But for the most part, getting off of Tiger will probably, most likely, you know, if we played the scenario out 100 times, you're gonna make money a lot more often than you don't just by fading Tiger here. So know that. But yeah, should be an awesome one to watch. I'd love to watch it with you guys. So, no event next week. I will not be seeing you guys next week. It's match play event, and DraftKings does not cover it. So it'll be a kind of a welcome week off here. I know the season's early still, but take that week to dive further into the numbers, see if I can make some new metrics for you guys. But that's going to be it for the Taco Tuesday PGA DFS podcast. And if you enjoy what I've been talking about, if you like the numbers and insight, you can gain access to all of this. You can come talk to me personally if you want. Just sign up at dfsarmy.com. We're growing huge numbers. We've had some giant wins over the weekend. Some huge $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 wins in NBA, in NASCAR over the weekend. We just absolutely crushed. So it's really popping over here. Having a great time just crushing DFS. Come join us, dfsarmy.com. Use promo code TACO on sign up. It will support the pod and get your lifetime 10% discount. So I will see you guys in 2 weeks, and let's get ready for Augusta, as those prices should be dropping. And honestly, I'll probably, next week I may have a quick podcast just going over the Masters, but we'll have to see. We'll see when the prices drop for that. So until 2 weeks from now, I'll see ya.